Why do you think that there are a bunch of horror films that some people debate their legitimacy as horror films versus thrillers? Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, for example. Yeah, so horror is a very strange genre where it has some of the most passionate fans. Like the horror community as a thing is unique amongst genres, where you don't have, comedy fans the way that you have horror fans. You don't have conventions for these other genres the way that you have them for horror. Certainly not at the scope, scale, and size. But it's also a community that it can be incredibly opening and welcome, and also some of the strangest gatekeeping that you can imagine. And there's like this desire there's like a purism amongst some fans that it's hard to fully understand. Where anytime a horror movie gets a little bit, there's even a way to say it, it sounds like I'm being derogatory when I say this, and I don't mean to, but that's where some of this debate comes from. But like anytime a horror film gets a little bit too good or has too many other elements to it outside of pure horror, you have people that are like, well, that's a thriller. And so like, yeah, Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, sometimes people say Seven. Like these are more like cop investigation films with some gore and horror elements, but those are thrillers, not horror films. You have movies that are celebrated as some of the best films of all time, and elements of the horror community cut them off from horror instead of being like horror has some of the best movies of all time, some of the best blockbusters of all time. Of course we want to own those. They don't own them, and they try and cut them off. Not the whole community, but there's segments that do that. Or like being a purist as the definition of a slasher. So many of us would make a strong argument that Terminator is very much a slasher, the first one, where you have this killer that is killing people. He's using a gun. He's not slashing them, but he's killing them, very much in the style of a slasher. But because he's using a gun, because he's the other argument, he's using a phone book. It's not random. He's going through the phone book, so it's no longer a slasher. Like, why are you trying to cut off one of the best movies of all time? Take it. Give credit to your genre. Like sometimes when I've done like my top 10 favorite horror movies, I'll leave out Jaws and Aliens, Terminator, but I'm leaving them out because I want to celebrate the movies that I'm not celebrating in my top 10 already. So maybe I'm a part of the problem too. But I don't know what that kind of gatekeeping is, that purist mindset. Horror is a genre that both can be added onto other genres, or you can add other genres to it. Alien is very obviously a horror film. It's also very much a sci-fi film, but it is a monster movie in space. It's a haunted house in space. They're stuck in the house trying to get out of it while the thing's trying to get them. And there's gore and all of that stuff. Obviously. But it's also overtly a sci-fi film. It's both. That's what's great about it. That's the fun of horror. And I think everyone does better. The genre, it's better for the genre if you allow it to get all the wins. And even, the term elevated horror, I think inherently is condescending to all the non-elevated horror. But you understand what they mean when they're saying they're talking about movies that try to add in social commentary into its story. Like, I understand what you're saying. Anyway, now I'm rabbit trailing a little bit. But yeah, I find it very strange that you have people that want to distance themselves from fantastic movies. Like people are like, hey, here's a horror movie. It's an A+, one of the best of all time. Best picture winner, you can have it. One of the movie that invented blockbusters, you can have it. It's your genre. No, we don't want it. We don't want those movies. We don't want Jaws. We don't want Terminator. We don't want Silence of the Lambs. We don't want Seven. We don't want Long Legs. Take them, take the wins. Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month for $2 per month, $20 per year. You can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams for $5 per month. You get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.